So I use success in terms of like your happiness in life.
I prefer that.
Yeah.
It's what it should mean.
Yeah.
100%. But our world sees it as, how much money do you have?
Well, unfortunately, like people will have all the money in the world and they're still the most unhappy people that you can meet.
Totally.
So money really does not buy you happiness.
No.
Personal success does.
Yes. And like finding who you are.
Yeah. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Medium Podcast. It's your host, Melissa Nami.
And it's me, Connor.
And for today's guest, we've got baker, actor, and entrepreneur Fidelia Grace.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Of
I really
course.
appreciate it. Welcome to Riverside.
Thank you.
You were living in LA for 10 years, you were mentioning right before this?
Yes. I moved to Los Angeles when I was 19.
From where?
But I grew up in Buffalo, New York. Yes. So it was a very different life. But I grew up dancing and performing when I was a little kid and always had the urge to do something different. I didn't go to college. Well, I went to college for 4 days and then I dropped out.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I was one of those students where totally. I was one of those students where I didn't really learn through textbook. It wasn't one of those things that I felt I just couldn't get it. And nobody was telling me that it's okay.
Yeah.
Especially in high school when everybody's telling you like, what are you going to do? What school are you going to go to? And at that age, I guess, I graduated high school in 2012. So it was very taboo to do something different, to even take a gap year was very weird for people. So as most kids that age, I was going to colleges and touring and doing auditions for dance because I wanted to be a dance major, or so I thought. And at the time, I was just like, this is not me, but I'm going through these like movements and motions because everyone's telling me to do this. So I got into our local university as a dance major.
Cool.
And the first 3 days, I remember just like, why am I here? And also at the time, I was traveling back and forth from New York by myself to audition for things. And nobody was asking me what my degree was. Nobody was asking me, like, what education do you have? They just want to see you perform. They just want to see what talent you have. And I was getting far in auditions and things like that. And I was just like, why am I wasting my money at this college? And we were doing vocabulary in the middle of dance class. I'm like, what is this? Like, this is not what I signed up for.
Not relevant at all.
At all.
Yeah.
Like, at all. And I was sitting in my English class, and the professor asked us to write an essay about something. And this light bulb just went off in my brain. And I was like, I can't do this. There's something better for me out there. I know that there's something else to discover besides staying here for 4 years. And it was really scary because nobody really was doing something different. Or so in like my small town, because I grew up in a very small town community. And I got in my car and I was like, how am I going to tell my mom? I come from a divorced family. So my mom is like the sole person that I speak to for things. And I drove down the highway and I told her like, I have something to tell you when I get home.
You called her?
I called her and told her, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And she was like, what can't you do? And I was like, I just am not going to go to school.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, she was saying, you know, just try it for a semester. I was like, no, this is not going to be my life.
You knew it.
I just knew it, like, deep within inside of me.
When it's in your bones, like, you motivate yourself.
Totally.
And that's a hard conversation to have.
It was so challenging. I think back to that time and I'm like, I don't even know how I had courage to say that. But I think when you just know who you are, and also standing up for yourself is a really big thing too in my family. My mom always pushed us. I have 2 sisters.
Yeah.
She always pushed us to do things that weren't normal. Just in terms of like, I come from like a very performing arts family. My older sister went to Berklee College of Music and like, you know, she's very talented and things like that. That was also what I was like up against, is you go to school, you get your degree, you go find something that you want to do.
Yeah.
So anyway, I dropped out of school, and then I spent kind of the next 2 years still in Buffalo figuring out my life. Where do I want to go? I was kind of waiting for some sort of sign to drop down from the sky being like, this is your next move. Nothing was happening. So I grew up with he was not really a friend, but I danced with him, Jacob Artist. He was he was on Glee for a couple of seasons.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. And I didn't have connections with him, but I saw that he could do it. And I was like, if he can do it, I can do it. So he was a big inspiration for me.
That's cool.
Yeah. And ironically, I was working at a college at the time. And I was just like a receptionist, which is hilarious. And
Take their money, girl. Don't let them have yours.
I was like, you pay me. I will try to do some work here for you. It was a community college, so it didn't like really matter.
Perfect.
And I booked a one-way flight with my mom and my stepdad, and I packed up 4 suitcases, maybe a little bit more. My mom tries to tell me it was 6, but I think it was 4. And I just left. And I really never looked back.
Did your mom move with you?
No, I moved by myself.
She moved you over here?
So she flew with me.
Cool.
I think it was Halloween. So I moved on Halloween day in 2014. I got an Airbnb for the first month because I obviously was 19 years old. I had no credit.
Yeah.
No one's going to approve me for any apartment living. I spent way too much money on my first studio apartment in West Hollywood.
Yeah.
I lived right off of Sunset Boulevard, and that was wild because I'm not like a partier. I don't go to clubs. Like I don't drink. I don't go to clubs.
And there you are, right in the heart of it.
In the heart of Hollywood.
Step out your front door and you're going to see craziness.
It was wild, actually. I remember walking into my studio apartment and had this horrible feeling. Not horrible, I guess I shouldn't say horrible, but just like this immense feeling of, what did I just do to myself? I cannot go back. Like
a one-way ticket is scary.
I've done this. My parents have a flight out in 2 days. And what am I going to do? So I leased my first car. I got settled in my apartment. My mom was freaking out as usual, worried. I mean, I was 19, so I couldn't even imagine my 19-year-old child flying across the country and being like, I'm going to start my own life. But I just had this force of something is going to be better for me. And so anyway, that's kind of how I started like the journey of my life in LA. And there were so many ups and downs along the way. I didn't really know I wanted to be an actor, if I'm honest. I kind of just wanted to start a new life for myself. I had some, falling out with friends when I was back home in Buffalo. And it's those kinds of things in your life motivate you to do something new.
Yeah, kind of shed that old bit of yourself and be reborn.
Yeah, and it was this feeling of, I know I can, so I'm going to, and nobody's going to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And I also think I had a pretty traumatic childhood, and I think that also is a very motivating factor. I look at my childhood with a glass half full, but I think I kind of wanted to run away from that in a bit. I have a beautiful mom and stepdad and sisters, but those things really make you who you are and make you flee in certain times of your life. And so that was also like a big factor as well. But yeah, I kind of got to work right away. I spent hours and hours researching classes and things and trying to find a job. I didn't know anybody there. I didn't have any connections.
You didn't know anybody in
I
LA.
didn't know anybody. And I was like,
you are brave.
I dropped my parents off at the airport on like their 3rd day or something. And I just remember driving back from the airport on La Cienega. I did not know how to pronounce that road when I first came here.
I bet.
Don't ask me how I pronounced it. But I just remember being excited, nervous, excited, but also like I had the whole world in my palm and I could do anything with it.
And you're so young at 19. Yeah, you have everything to look forward to.
And you don't know what scary is. You don't know what life is really. You're like, yeah, everything's going to be fine, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just kind of started there. I dove into acting. I started in a couple classes. They didn't work out. And then I found a really amazing class. I'll shout her out, Lauren Patrice Nadler. She is an amazing acting coach in Los Angeles. If somebody's watching and if you're looking into that world, just Google her. And she kind of changed my life in terms of my acting and also my community. I had a hard time finding community in LA because I'm not really about the Hollywood scene. First of all, I don't like the Hollywood business. It's kind of gross and disgusting. I'm sure people have read certain things recently about things that have come out, but it was a community where I could feel like I was myself, but also scary. And so I kind of dove into acting and stuff, and I did so much research about how do I submit for auditions and like how do I do this and do that, and slowly like built up my resume, booked my first movie.
What was that?
My first movie was a USC student film called what was it called? Soccer something. Gosh, I don't even remember. It's somewhere on YouTube, probably.
You were young when you did that?
I was probably 19, 20. I was 20, yeah. But it was like a very short student film.
When it's a student film, do they do the same audition things and everything like that? The students go through all that with the actors?
Yeah, so, and people that aren't students at USC can audition for student films as well.
Very cool.
So I knew that I wasn't going to be able to book like high jobs unless I had experience under my belt. So I kind of worked for free for the first year and a half of my acting jobs just to like gain, I don't know, my craft, get a reel together, and just to find connections with people. So student films are a really great opportunity to do that. And I'm so proud of myself for going that way. I think a lot of people have success right off the bat, which is amazing, but learning the grind of it is really helpful. And also you get more appreciative of when you like do get bigger jobs because of that. So yeah, I started with student films at USC and other local schools, and I found those like by myself online. There's casting networks and things like that. And then I got a job as like a part-time holiday person at Banana Republic at the Grove.
Cool.
So just like working my butt off trying to pay my bills because my savings account was slowly depleting. And then I booked like a bigger movie, which is on Amazon now. I mean, I shot it when I was 22. So if you ever watch it, just watch it with a grain of salt.
Why is it like a...
It's fine. It's a great film. It's called Dreams I Never Had. It's with Malcolm McDowell and Robin Givens. And it was a great movie to work on, but I got paid nothing for it when like, you know, there's a big professional actor getting paid 10 grand for one day and you're getting paid $50 a day.
Yeah, it's dookie.
Not legal.
Yeah. And that's why people strike.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why there is some sort of union out there to help you. Although I'm not sure that the union helps anybody right now.
Are you a part of any Screen Actors
I'm like
Guild, or were
close to being in the Screen Actors Guild, but I am not, just because I will like wait for the next job that I need to book in order to get a part of it. I mean,
Full
also
disclosure, I don't know much about that world. So I'm very fascinated.
Oh, okay,
by
cool.
It.
Yeah. So the SAG, Screen Actors Guild, is a union that protects actors, or so does protect actors. Not really. I don't know. It's very controversial. At this moment, we striked last year.
Yeah.
And I kind of say that I'm in the guild because I've worked so many jobs. It's just like there's a certain amount of jobs that you can work in, like as a SAG job before you have to join.
You're
so
SAG
I'm like
adjacent.
right there. Yeah, I'm like right there. It also costs like almost $4,000 to join. Then you have to pay
That's how they get
dues.
Yeah, the dues was the weird thing. I got offered to join SAG when I was working at a restaurant in high school. They were like, you should join. And then I realized there were dues, and I was like, you guys, what?
It's
no,
crazy.
I'm good. I'm literally working at a restaurant. You don't see that?
Well, that's the thing, is like, I would love to say that I'm in SAG.
Yeah.
But I also don't really care. Like, it doesn't qualify me as a good actor or not good actor. I mean, I guess in some instances it does. If you're working, you know, big studio productions, you're obviously going to be a SAG actor. But again, everything has really changed in the industry since I started 10 years ago. So, it's not a really happy place to be a part of right now. But it was at one point, like I was going in for auditions, like in person. There was nothing recording yourself on tape and sending it to casting directors. That's what it's like now. And it was really fun because you used to go in and be a part of this world and get affirmed by the casting director. Like,
so in-person auditions aren't really as much of a thing anymore?
They like never happen. No, I haven't had an in-person audition since before COVID.
That's weird. You would think that they would want to see your personality in person.
Yes. But the thing is that they can turn over tapes so much faster and see so many other people now because they're just sitting in front of a computer. And the problem with that is they see you for 2 seconds and you might not look like that the vision that they had for the character, and then they just swipe you. Yeah. And the problem too with that is that you spend at least 2 hours of your time preparing, emailing back and forth with your agent or manager, memorizing your lines, setting up your audition tape equipment, filming it, which can take up to an hour to film depending on how long the scene is. Yeah. Then you have to edit it, then you have to submit it, tell your agent and manager that you submitted it, and then you literally hear nothing back. So my relationship with acting has kind of been an interesting saga over the last couple of years, ever since COVID, because it used to be really fun and really interactive, and a place where you can connect with people, especially in the room with casting directors, producers. That's where, like you said, you get to show your personality. And when I first started acting, I was really, really shy. So I really wouldn't talk to many people. But now I'm like, let's talk, let's chat. And I wish my version of myself now was back then. Not that I regret anything. Yeah. You know, you just learn. But
you've bloomed, you're blossomed. You've blossomed,
Yeah. And also, like with callbacks now, it's all over Zoom. So you're in a room alone with your laptop set up, and you're literally acting to a dot on your screen. And they expect you to be amazing and to personify the character fully when nobody is in the room with you. I've had some horror stories with callbacks, but yeah, that's kind of like my story with acting. There's a lot of different stories I could say about sticking up for yourself and not letting producers step over you when they want you to do certain things. But
like gross things?
Just like, I think a lot of times in the industry, people want to be famous and they want to be really successful. And so they're willing to do things, I wouldn't say like vulgar things, but they're willing to put themselves in uncomfortable situations in order to get to the next step. Yeah. And I have always been an advocate for you should stand up for yourself because it's your body and it's your work of art. I shot a film, which is one of my favorite films I shot. It's called A Good Girl. It's about sex trafficking. And I loved it because it was bringing a message kind of to light that people don't really see or talk about. It's kind of one of those underground things that happens in our world that we don't really see. Yeah. And I loved being a part of that film, but long story short, we had to do reshoots and they got rid of the entire like production and got a new director and rewrote certain scenes. And they wanted me to be nude on camera. Nothing really was going to be shown, but it was like, you're still nude on set.
You're still naked in the room. Yeah.
And I understood from a certain perspective of showing things, but it was already implied. So we were on set and we were shooting in near Palm Springs area, Banning. Do you know where Banning is?
Yes.
So
I did not know they shot movies in Banning.
Yeah. Yes. A lot out there, actually.
What?
Surprisingly, yeah. It's just cheaper.
Way cheaper. Yeah. Wow. And they have old town feel that a lot of people want. So we were shooting there. I didn't have any service, so there was no, way that I could contact my manager. The problem was that they were supposed to have a stunt double for me. Stunt, quotes, stunt.
Yeah. Body double, whatever. Yeah.
And I remember getting the call sheet the night before and there was nobody on the sheet that was supposed to be my double. And I was like, this is interesting. Okay. And we get to set, we're like setting up for the scene. If you don't know, you like block the scene before you shoot with the director. You walk things through with the other actors, and it's very like robotic. I don't think people realize how blocked acting is.
Yeah. We only see the final cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. And so we were shooting, and I like kind of jokingly said, oh, well, my body double is going to do this, even though I knew that they didn't have somebody for me. And the producer looks at me and goes, what? And I was like, we need to talk. And I just pulled him aside and I was like, I was supposed to have a body double for today. That was in my contract. And so I go upstairs to like wherever my space was. And I told him like, they made me feel comfortable. So if it wasn't a comfortable situation, if the people weren't trusting, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But I told him like, I'm not shooting this scene without a bump of my rate.
Yeah.
And so that's a situation where you really have to trust your gut.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are just like, yeah, I'll do it. Like, it's going to be fine. But then you finish that scene and you finish your work day and you go home to your hotel room by yourself and you think about your day. And all of a sudden you're like, wait, why did I do that? You know, why didn't I say something about that for myself? So I encourage people, either if you're listening or you're starting out in the business, don't let people walk all over you. It's also the same in life. Like, don't let people walk all over you. You can be nice about standing up for yourself, and there's a way to do it that doesn't make people feel like you're aggressive. But yeah, I just told them like, I'm not doing this unless I get a bump. Like, this is not okay. So they bumped my rate. It was fine. But, there's a lot of sleazy things that happen with producers trying to take advantage of actors.
Pass a quick one on you.
Just like, you know, you need me.
Yeah.
I think the sentence would be, you need me for your career. And it shouldn't be. It should be, no, you need me because I'm the actor in front of the camera. And I've had situations with agents where, you know, they just don't take you seriously and you're just a number to them. So anyway, I could probably go on and on, but I won't. But yeah, that's kind of like my journey with acting. I'm still acting now. I moved out of Los Angeles last November in 2023. My boyfriend lives in Riverside.
Welcome to Riverside.
Thank you. It's fun. It's definitely a different vibe than LA, and I love it.
Yeah. So just to talk about the geography of where you've been, I didn't exactly know where Buffalo was.
Oh, yeah.
So I Googled it real quick, and holy cow, girl, you are right next to Niagara Falls.
Yes, 45 minutes.
How often would you go?
Not a lot.
You've been though, right?
I have been, yes, many times.
And I'm looking at it, I'm like, it looks like it's a very green place where you grew up. To go from somewhere so nature driven and centric to a place like LA.
It's a little shocking. I don't know if it was it's more shocking now, I think, because I'm really over the city life, or was, I guess. I think Riverside's kind of more like even city too, a bit.
Depends on where you are.
Totally. Yeah. And yeah, I would say it's more shocking now when I go back home. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I need green in my life.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel that way when I first moved, because obviously I grew up there and I was looking for something new.
You're looking at everything so doe-eyed and everything's so exciting.
And you don't appreciate what you grew up in until you move away from that place. I mean, I would never move back to Buffalo because of the snow and things
now
like
that you've been a little spoiled with California, you haven't had to
except for our
shovel
summers,
a driveway or whatever.
Yes, shovel a driveway. Except I feel like our summers are more brutal than snow.
Intense. They are intense.
This summer was intense. It was like 105 every day.
Well, I'm actually, now that I'm thinking about you, because you said you moved here in November, so it was your first Riverside summer. Yeah. It's
full
different
time.
From an LA summer.
Yeah, very much so.
You get that sea breeze still in LA and stuff like that.
But I don't miss the chaos of LA. I was very much over it. Even before I met my boyfriend, I was like, I need to get out of here.
Did you meet him in LA and he just happened to be from Riverside?
So he's from Diamond Bar, and I met him through a friend at just a birthday party. Cool. And so, but before that, I was like, I really need to figure out my life because this isn't sustainable. Going back to like the acting, which is why I felt that way.
Yeah.
I was working a lot of different jobs. I could probably name dozens. I was a wedding planner assistant. I was a nanny for multiple clients and families. I was a producer at a digital marketing agency. I was then like I don't even know how to categorize my job, but I worked at a vegan food like startup company doing a bunch of random different things.
Cool.
I personal assist for a like health and wellness coach. So LA really teaches you when you're in the industry to just take any job that you can and hustle.
Yeah.
But I was really over that.
And you've taken it down quite a couple notches moving to Riverside, I'm guessing, right?
I've had to. Yeah.
That has to be like in a good way. That has to be tremendous for your mental health and everything like that, because acting seems so strenuous, not only like the hustle that you're describing, but rejection is so scary. And it sounds like people are like, rejection in Hollywood now is just getting ghosted. Like you never hear from anybody at all. And
I think when you're in the industry, you realize quickly that it's dumb to put your, what's the right word I want to use?
Eggs in a basket, or
it's just, it's wasting your time if you are waiting for somebody to tell you yes. And it's okay to just let those auditions go. Yeah. I really had to learn that like really fast, because it's just a waste of time. And, when you hear nothing, it doesn't mean that you're not good. Yeah. You know, I could not get a job if my hair color wasn't the right color, or they didn't have the budget to dye my hair, or whatever it may be, or the mom looks too similar to my age, or whatever it is. So you just have to realize, like, this is so stupid for me to put my worth. Worth was the word I was looking for, to put your worth on somebody telling you that you're good. And I think when COVID happened, a lot of the industry shifted and changed. And I kind of just got fed up with working so hard for something that felt so unattainable. Yeah. And I talked to my friend the other day, and I was like, it's basically like climbing Mount Everest, but times 10, and you're never going to get there. It feels like you're never going to get there. And when I say get there, I mean acting full time. I don't mean necessarily being famous. I don't necessarily mean having some sort of platform. Yeah. It's more so, how can I do what I love full time without feeling like I'm...
Oh, scary.
I knocked down one of the little guys.
Aw. Without feeling like I'm just losing myself. Yeah. So I kind of felt like I was losing myself after, 8 years of trying and trying and trying.
And I can imagine.
Yeah. Like, again, I've booked amazing projects. I've done amazing things, but nobody's paying anything anymore.
And it's not like you get to chill between trying. You have to keep working full time in order to try to achieve this goal. So that I can see burnout is what comes to my mind.
I still have residual burnout that I think I'm working through, if I'm being honest. And so 2 years ago, well, a year and a half ago, I would say, the beginning of 2023, I quickly realized that I don't want this to be the rest of my life. I don't want to be working jobs just to get by. I was approaching my 30s. I'm 30 now. And welcome. Thank you. It's a trip. And I just was like, if I want to have a family with somebody, if I want to be happy, I need to make some sort of change in my life, because this isn't sustainable for my mental health, to my physical health, and to my emotional inner being that feels so wrapped up in becoming something. And it was really hard to realize that, because when you work so hard for something, that's your whole worth. It's like, this is my dream. I'm going to make it happen for myself. Nothing's going to come through. Nothing's going to come in between this. Yeah. And then you all of a sudden feel a certain way, and it's kind of like shocking. So also my boyfriend is a big, I think, inspiration of change for me too. I saw him live more of like a slow life. He's not in the industry at all. And I remember when I first met him and like we first started dating, and I was like, how do you live like that? Like, I want to live like that. And I joke about it, but it was like the calmness and just, I don't want to say not caring, because he cares so much, but it's like his worth wasn't wrapped up in what he was doing. And I remember him telling me, you know, your purpose isn't acting. That's not your purpose in life. And I was like, yeah, I know. But I don't think I really knew until the beginning of 2023 when I told myself I had to make some sort of shift. So I'm kind of tried to make some sort of shift. But sorry, I'm kind of flowing into these storylines. Are you okay? You're not really asking me questions.
Girl, look at me in the eye. You're making this so easy for me. You're making this so easy. Because I'm guessing this is where you get into baking.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, keep going, keep going. I'm loving this.
So like
you're an amazing woman.
Oh, thank you.
So let me just say that because your mom sounds amazing.
She is.
It sounds like she raised an amazing woman, because for you to be so independent, and I'm looking at you 11 years later and you're doing great. And I'm thinking, I'm like, shit, if I was 19 and just took everything and moved to New York, I'd be homeless. Like,
thank you.
So I'm like, I'm looking at you with like, what would you say? Like rose colored glass. Like it's cool. Like I'm inspired by you. So keep going.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I'm being honest.
Thank you. So in March, I'd say I was working for the vegan food company, and I was running everything, their customer service.
At this point, you're still living in LA?
I'm still living in LA. Okay. Yeah. And I should say I lived in a 300 square foot studio apartment by myself for almost 7 years. And I was in that studio apartment for the majority of COVID. And I literally think I almost went crazy. I moved back home to Buffalo. I didn't move. I went back to Buffalo for 4 months because it was just too much for me to handle. I was working a different job at the time.
LA shut down in a different kind of way.
Oh my gosh. It was brutal.
Yeah.
And I didn't have really anybody to talk to, and like FaceTime only does so much for people. Yeah. I was working a very rigorous job. That's when I was working my producing job for a digital marketing agency. And they were really running me down to the ground. I basically, I was a producer. So I was working with engineers and coding websites. And again, I don't have a degree in anything. And so I just learned all of this by somebody telling me what to do.
Heck yeah.
And so
fake it till you make it, girl.
You really just have to say yes, and that you know what you're doing. And I always tell people, like, you really don't. I love education. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to put anybody down on education because I do think it's important, but it also depends on what you do. And it also depends on your personality and how you learn. I'm a learner of watching things and people telling me how to do things. Yeah. I don't learn from textbooks or reading something. I actually think I really struggled with reading comprehension until I became an actor. Yeah. And was forced to like understand what words meant on a page.
Reading scripts and everything like that.
Yeah.
Like, and okay, now I get storylines.
I know what they're talking about. Yeah, this makes sense. So my boss really taught me everything when it comes to producing at a marketing agency. But I was working like 13 hours a day, and I was up until like 3 a.m. sometimes getting my stuff done with my engineers and developers. And it was really difficult. I was so exhausted from that job, and I remember just being like, I've had enough. Yeah. This is not what I came here to do. I did not want to be building websites. Like, what am I doing? And that's when I shifted. I had taken a month off because I was making good money, and I was able to financially take a month off and figure out what I wanted to do. That's when I started working for the food company.
Cool.
And
you took a month off to get another job?
Always. To get another job. Just to get another job, you know, to get another horrible job.
That's just, you're like, I took a month off, got a new job.
Yeah. I didn't really learn anything about myself besides, what am I doing?
You like to stay busy, it sounds.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, there's pros and cons to that. I'm trying to work through that. Yeah. Slowly.
Yeah. I can imagine. You're like, I got to break it down a little bit.
Yeah.
So you got the new job with the vegan company.
Yeah. And I had known her, so it was kind of like an easy transition.
Cool.
So just to give you a time, I started that job at the end of 2022. 2021. And then I worked with her for a year, maybe almost 2 years actually. But that relationship kind of, let me go back. I was doing everything from customer service to packaging to, I don't know, all of her social media things. And I was kind of her right-hand lady.
Yeah.
that was also challenging because being pulled in, I was basically doing one job. I was basically one person doing 10 different jobs.
Yeah. Major utility player sounds like.
And it was a startup, so I like totally understand, but I also think that there's you shouldn't be taking advantage of your employees.
It all circles back to standing up for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. So we had a bit of a, let me talk about through like how I got into food with her. So since I was doing social media for her, there's a lot of like recipe creators online that shoot recipes for brands and things like that. And so I was like, oh, well, why don't I try to shoot some recipes for us, yada, yada, yada. So anyway, I started shooting recipes, and then I was like, wait, I really like doing this. This is really fun. And in the process of, doing those recipes for her, we kind of had a falling out. I won't go into details, but it just was not a good relationship to work for anymore. I needed to kind of move on. You kind of know when your time is up at a certain point with the company.
And you knew your recipes could be better if they weren't vegan.
Yes. And I knew that I could. I actually was vegan for 7 years, and I'm no longer vegan. Yeah.
Damn. We'll talk about that too. That's a big chance to commit to being vegan and then to say sayonara is pretty crazy.
Yes. Yeah. It was.
Were you?
It was a wild transition. Was I? I started transitioning out of being vegan. That's such an interesting thing to say.
It's true though,
but it's so true.
It is a transition. If you just go gung ho right afterwards, you're going to be sick, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
right.
I started little by little when I was kind of at the end of my course with her.
You just bite of a chicken nugget, like.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I kind of was like, we'll go into that, but so then I was like, wait, I can kind of take this and do it myself, and I think I can earn more money doing this. So I started like I had an Instagram for my own stuff, and I kind of transitioned that into putting my recipes on there. And it was growing a little bit, but like the internet was really saturated, which it's still saturated now, but I still didn't feel like that was my path for some odd reason. You just kind of know. I don't know. I'm very intuitive with how my body feels and where I feel like I should go. And I'm a very faithful person. So I didn't actually really become faithful until I struggled with my mental health. And so I'm like, can you just show me the way? Like, God, can you just where do I need to go? And I don't think it's ever really clear. It's more so little signs along the way that are showing you, wait, this is adding up here and there.
He's got to keep it interesting.
I mean, always. If it's not hard, then you're not doing something that he's telling you to do.
Yeah.
So then I decided, that's when I moved to Riverside last November, because my boyfriend and I were going back and forth, and it was a long drive. It's like 2 hours, each way. And that was getting brutal on me physically, living out of a bag. And you're just like, where are you?
When you were in LA, were you like excited to come out to Riverside? You're like,
yes.
I get to be in Riverside this weekend.
We always kind of, I mean, it's not really a joke, but I would always come out here because I'm like, I want to escape. Like, I want to get out of the city.
Jokes can be serious too.
It's so serious. So he would visit, but I also would have rather come out here.
Yeah.
It was just so much more peaceful. It is more peaceful, obviously. And so I was like, we need to make some sort of shift for my mental health. I cannot be going back and forth. I'm basically here all the time. Why am I paying $1,500 in rent?
Yeah.
Living with somebody else.
For a box. Or were you not in the studio at this point?
I forgot to finish that story. So during COVID, I moved to living with a roommate. Because I wanted to be around
isolation
somebody.
is not a fun thing to play with.
No.
Yeah.
No, I needed like some sort of energy in my house.
You just wanted to say good morning to somebody in person.
Honestly. It's so true though. It's like such a small thing.
Yeah. But you have a point. Why pay the money if you could be, I mean, you like being with your boyfriend and you like being in Riverside,
course.
so double.
Yeah. And we originally were going to look at apartments here and whatever, but then I was like, why? There's no point. So we just moved in together and in November, and I was still doing the recipes for my Instagram account. I was working with some brands. So brands would send me their product and I would create and shoot recipes for them, edit them, send them the deliverables. And then they would post it on their account. And it was nice because I felt like I was doing something myself. Like I was in charge of my own work.
That's
whereas
awesome.
beforehand, somebody was telling me what to do. And I had like my deadlines in work, but it felt like somebody else's deadline. So you just work differently when it becomes your own business. And then I was like, this is just not, you know, everything that I wanted. I feel like this is great, but I kind of want to start my own business. And I stumbled upon the microbakery, cottage bakery, life owner, small business thing on Instagram. And a microbakery, if you don't know, if you're listening, is a bakery that you run and operate out of your home. You get your cottage food license. So I have my cottage food license from Riverside County. And there's other licenses that some people need. Like I had to get a stormwater license because I live in unincorporated land. And each county and state has their own rules and regulations. So I have Class A, which means like I don't have to get necessarily inspected.
I was going to ask,
which is really nice.
Inspect your house?
No, I mean, cool. Unless you have a Class B license, but then you're acting more of as like a commercial kitchen, which I'm not. So it was really simple and easy. The lady that I worked with was really nice. And yeah, so a microbakery is just a bakery you run out of your home, and you are licensed, and you do have to abide by obviously rules and things and everything. But all in all, that's kind of what a microbakery is. So I stumbled upon that community and I was like, wait, I think I can do that. I'm always like, I think I can do that. Like, it's not that hard, right?
Let's give it a shot.
My mind wants to do too many different things.
Up until that point, were your recipes that you were putting out, were they baking recipes or were they all types of recipes, like entrees? And
they were mostly baking and sweet recipes. Cool. Yeah. I had some
Can I tell you, I love your style.
Oh, thank you.
I love sugar.
Oh my gosh. So good. It's so, I have to like resist the urge to have not a cookie every day that I make.
Don't resist.
Some days I have to. I'm like, oh my goodness.
I'll give the disclosure on how we met. Because,
oh yes, please.
Yeah, I met you. My girlfriend was doing a pop-up market and you were across the way, and I saw your cookie jar.
Yes.
And I was just like, okay, let's get $20 of cookies because I love chocolate chip cookies. And I remember I walked over, took one bite. I gave one to my brother-in-law, and then he went back and bought the rest of your cookies.
The only thing I regret from that day is not getting a reaction from you on quote unquote camera, even if I didn't use it, because it was so great. Your reaction of like loving the cookie.
Oh, they were delicious. I brought a couple home. I didn't give you any. I know I saw you, but no, I wasn't gonna share.
I don't blame you.
I wasn't gonna share.
I don't blame you.
I should have brought some today. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna drop some off to you guys.
No, I mean, I'm not gonna say no to that, but I do want to eventually. I was telling one of my gal pals, she lives in Sacramento.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, next time you come down, she started doing cookie boxes, and I'm gonna get you a cookie box.
Yes, please. I love cookies. So like cookies have my heart.
Yeah.
But I could honestly eat one every single day.
This sentence sound like in my head because cookie refers to something different sometimes by some people.
Sure.
But your cookies are on my mind often.
Thank you.
It was literally the best chocolate chip cookie I've ever had in my life.
Thank you so much. That's really wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
I hope everybody thinks that when they try them.
They should.
I had a bit of imposter syndrome last week. Why? Where I was like, people are just telling me that they're good. Like, I don't know. You have those things where you're like, people are just telling me that they're good and they're not. But I know it's just like in your brain.
Yeah, you switch back and forth between that thought, no matter what you're creating.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you got your license, you got all that good stuff.
So
At this point, you were baking, doing recipes, and
before that, in December of last year, I bought a 1970s horse trailer and started converting it into my microbakery on wheels, which I'm still converting. I just had to take a break because the summer heat was killing me.
I bet.
And this summer was very hectic. But I started converting that in December and January, February, got my license in February. And then I kind of tapped into like the sourdough, obviously, like the sourdough community. I learned how to bake sourdough. Which is very popular right now. I think people are learning the health benefits of sourdough compared to white bread and all of this stuff, which I think is awesome. Don't buy bread at the grocery store. If you can, buy from a local baker, because bread is filled with so many bad ingredients.
My
I mean, so
cousin-
much is, but
My cousin makes bread, and she says it shouldn't have more than 5 ingredients, 6 ingredients, unless you're adding like jalapenos and stuff like that.
what's crazy is that if you go to the grocery store, even if you go to Sprouts and buy their sourdough bread and you look on the back of the ingredient label, the amount of ingredients, and it's not sourdough.
Yeah.
Excuse me, they just say it's sourdough. But I just told my boyfriend, I was like, we are never buying bread from the grocery store again. Like, never again. But it does change you, like, for sure. It's sourdough is, naturally fermented. So there are certain kind of nutrition benefits to it.
Sourdough's my favorite type of bread, actually.
It's so good.
I love it.
What's amazing about it too is that you can make sourdough bread more sour if you want, or less sour. So it depends on how long you ferment it for. Like, I just had 2 loaves of bread that I baked off this morning that were in my fridge since Thursday. And it's a little bit more sour than you would bake if it was just the next day.
Is that due to the fermentation that's occurring? Wow. Fascinating.
Yeah. So my bread ferments for 24 hours, or kind of 24 hours, give or take, whatever time I finish prepping and stuff. But you can kind of go as long as you want. I mean, I wouldn't say like bake it after 20 days, but not sure if that would be
eat it
healthy.
and you look like the warhead guy.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, not sure if somebody's tried that, but I wouldn't
I bet you someone
advocate for
has.
that. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Somewhere online, I'm sure there's a video.
Maybe it's like wine and it gets better the longer it sits. Like,
Yeah. I wouldn't test that, but yeah, it's really incredible.
That the longer it sits, the more sour it gets. So
it also depends on the acidity of your sourdough starter too, and like how much you add to your
I was about
recipe.
to ask because sour usually comes from acidity. So I was wondering if there was acidity in the sourdough. Is there's more acidity than bread usually has?
Well, it just depends. So my recipe calls for 100 grams of sourdough starter, which is leaven, which is why like it's naturally leavened. Leaven and starter is the same term.
Yeah.
So not to confuse people.
That's that thing that you guys take, like you guys as sourdough bakers take care of like a baby.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Although I think people make it more complicated than it needs to be.
I want to hear
if
your
I'm honest.
process, because the way sometimes I'll hear it, I'm like, you do all that every day, and it sounds intense. Like it sounds like part of like the way you brush your teeth and work out. Like it's a very ritualistic type of thing for this starter.
It is complicated. I'm not going to lie. There are a lot of steps, but I've done it so many times now that it's kind of like clockwork.
Muscle memory now, right?
Yeah. But I think people make taking care of a sourdough starter way more difficult than it needs to be.
They take it for a walk. They burp it.
Yeah. They're like feeding it like it's their child. I'm like, yeah, it is, I guess. But so basically my routine is, so my starter's in my refrigerator right now. And it's just like, in bed.
You sang to it this morning, listens to classical music.
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard stuff like that. I'm like, wait, you do what?
That's weird. And I'll take it out. So for instance, I have to make sourdough on Thursday. So I'll actually take out my starter tonight and I'll feed it because it's a living organism. It needs to be fed if you want it to survive, because the bacteria in the starter is feeding off of the new flour that you're giving it.
To it.
Yeah. Which is making it stay alive, which is why when you make sourdough, it proofs and gets really big because it's eating all of that flour. So I'll feed it tonight, and then tomorrow I'll feed it again in the morning, and then I'll start my bread process in like the afternoon. And my bread process to make it is probably around, it depends on the temperature. But like if I start at 1:00, I'll mix my flour and water together and I let it autolyse. I know that's like a very dramatic term, or scientific term, but it basically is just like letting the gluten develop a little bit before you add in the rest of your ingredients.
Okay.
Then I add in my starter, I give it a mix, let it rest for 30 minutes. Then I add in my salt, let it mix it, let it rest for 30 minutes. And then I perform like 4 or 5 sets of stretch and fold or coil folds.
You have forearms of steel.
I mean, kind of, I guess. Yeah, it is when you do like for the market that you were at, that I met you at, I made 30 loaves of bread. And that was a lot of work, but you just get used to it. It's really fun, to be honest. It's like one of those like therapeutic things. You're working with your hands. And like kind of on a side note, working with your hands helps depression. It's scientifically proven to help. I don't know like scientific terms, but allowing your hands to like do something, I don't know, it does something to you on the inside. So I struggled with depression for a while during COVID, and then again kind of like when I was figuring out in 2023 what I was going to do next. So it helped me a lot, like figure out and feel like I was doing something as opposed to sitting on my computer. You know, we're all very stagnant human beings these days when we're sitting on our computer working. We're just looking at a screen. And I was like, I just want to do something that I'm not looking at a screen for. So it's really an amazing process. And then I let it bulk ferment on the counter or wherever.
It sounds like an art.
It is
form in and of itself, because you're here talking about temperature, time. It's like it has its own like life to it.
Kind of, yeah. I always joke with people that I did not pass math or science, and here I am doing both at the same time.
Yeah, for real. That's what I'm thinking. Well, you're like, I'm guessing you're weighing things out in the metric system, like you're using grams.
I still struggle with like math in it. I mean, I was nowhere near failing at math when I was in high school, but like it didn't come easy to me. So it really, baking teaches you a lot about that, but it's different. It's like kind of different math. It's basically just timesing things by 2 or 5 or whatever. And then you shape it. You dump out your dough and you shape it, pre-shape it, and then you wait 30 minutes and then you shape it again, put it in your bannetons, put it in your fridge, let it ferment for 12 to 18 hours or however long, and then you just bake it off. So it is a process. I'm not going to lie. It is a process, but once you get the hang of it, like I don't feel like it's work. Just like, oh yeah, I have to do this.
Yeah. It's that muscle memory portion of it. It's like you know what you have to do. In those little times, like that 30 minutes, are you doing anything? Like, is there something that you like to do? You're like, oh, like that's when I stretch, or I'll read a little bit.
I mean, I should probably be like catching up on my work that I have to do, but, I try my best to not be like a workaholic anymore, and take time to enjoy things. That's also something my boyfriend has really taught me. It doesn't come easy to me.
Boyfriend sounds like a good dude if he's teaching you valuable lessons. And let me say, it feels like you fit in Riverside.
Yes. I feel like I do, at least. I think I'm still finding people and world. It's very challenging meeting people when you're 30 and you're an adult. And you have fears. Different fears than you did when you were 19.
Big time. My insecurities bleed through me when I'm starting. I'm like, do you friend me? Me friend you?
Yeah. It's very bizarre.
Have you found a community here in Riverside?
Not really. I think that's something that I'm still trying to find. I think that's also why I started my business and my microbakery, because I wanted to kind of get out into the community and find people. And this year's kind of just been crazy, so I haven't really done the greatest job at quote unquote marketing myself in the community for like my sourdough bread. I've met amazing like customers and things like that, but then I transitioned to working on my online cookie shop. And that's also like, you know, I work alone most of the time, where it's things on my computer that I have to do or admin, and then, you know, I'm baking alone and doing things like that. I think it'll naturally come as I just, you know, progress and meet people along the way.
Yeah, of course.
I try to go to like a coffee shop every Monday and work from a coffee shop, and then I go to the library, the Orange Crest Library.
I saw that on your Instagram today.
I go there like it's the best.
It's an amazing community center. It's great.
When I tell you that I hadn't been to a library in probably 10 years and now I'm there like every day, it's amazing. It's just, you're just like, okay, I have to work. You know, I'm in a productive zone. Right.
Can't talk, can't be loud, can't listen to music or watch a YouTube video.
Exactly. No distractions, things like that. So I think community will just come as it's like meeting you at the vendor thing. And it's like, you know, trying to like nourish certain microphone.
Don't worry about it. I was so nervous to ask you. I was like, to ask my girlfriend, I'm like, I'm gonna ask her to do a podcast.
Oh my gosh, you should.
I'm gonna ask her to do a podcast.
Yeah, of course.
She's from Riverside. I'm gonna ask her. And then I was like, hey, by the way, like I felt so you're actually like one of the first people that I've there was one other gal, she's a DJ.
Oh, nice.
But you're one of the first people that I've actually like approached myself that I haven't had like an actual personal relationship with before.
Oh, amazing.
Like prior to this.
Yeah, of course. I love talking about not myself. That sounds weird, pretentious, like talking about myself, but
pretentious. It's your journey.
I love sharing my journey because I think it's a little bit unique to what other people expect.
Yeah.
And I think from the outside, people might see somebody that is or has been successful, but the deep feelings of those and where that success, I don't even like using the word success, but where those accomplishments come from are very deep, emotionally painful feelings. And I don't think people really realize that. I try to be very open on my Instagram about things that are happening, not showing the perfect life. That there's only so much you can say on Instagram in a 1 minute video. So yeah, I like speaking about certain things in life, and my Instagram kind of popped off a little bit because I started talking about my mental health journey and navigating a new space. And I always wanted to encourage people to go out and live their dream, whether it be super, super big or a small, tiny dream. Like, it doesn't matter what you want to do. Just go out there and try it. Like, I come from a very, non-traditional family life. I didn't grow up with money. My mom really struggled to provide, the basic necessities for me and my sisters. And you have to just believe in yourself and believe that you can. And the amount of messages that I get every day on my Instagram being like, this video helped me so much and yada yada. And I think just helping people, and I've been saying this a lot on my Instagram recently, but we are nothing without community. I was like really heavily affected emotionally by what happened in Western North Carolina with the hurricane.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just feel for people. I think
it's terrifying. It's terrible what those, what they had to deal with. It's their homes. It's their, everything we hold dear is in these walls that we call home, and God, it was tough to see too.
I just think also recognizing that people have feelings. I don't know, like, a lot of people are scared to tell people how they feel. Yeah. But I hope my platform encourages people to tell their story more, because everybody's affected by everything. Like, if you were someone that told me that you're not affected by something, I would highly question that and say that you are, but you're just not tapped into your emotions.
That, or they're a sociopath.
Yeah. Or like something's actually wrong with you.
And you got to run away.
Yeah, 100%. But I encourage people to feel those feelings, and to help people, because like I said, we are nothing without our community. There's this older gentleman that stands on the side of our road from time to time spinning signs for the new houses that are going up. And a couple months ago I kept seeing him, and I was like, something is like pulling me to him for some odd reason. Like, I don't know why. This is really bizarre. I had this like urge of knowing his story. Like,
what brought him there?
Well, I just felt like he was struggling. You can just tell when somebody is working really hard. He's probably making minimum wage. Yeah. Maybe this is his third job. And he's an older man. Like, he's probably in his mid 50s. So a couple months go by. We hadn't seen him in a while. And we were driving after I had shot something for my cookie boxes, actually. And we saw him, and I was like, oh my gosh, I had all these cookies left over, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to take him cookies. Oh. So I drove home quickly. I packaged them up because I didn't want him to like leave his little corner. And I go back to him, and I was like, this is so, and I walk up to him, and he like pulls back. I think he wanted me to, he thought that I was like crossing the street.
No, he thought you looked dangerous.
Yeah. You want to pull something on him.
He's like, oh gosh, she's probably gangbanging on me.
Like, what is she doing? And I go up to him. I was like, I'm so sorry. This is so random, but I own a bakery down the street, and I've seen you from time to time on the street, and like, I don't know, this is really random. I'm really sorry, but I just wanted to like give you some cookies. And when I say I started bawling my eyes out, literally, I was a puddle. He goes, his name is Jack, and which is reminding me I need to take him some more soon.
I'm imagining you like Olaf when he starts melting.
Kind of,
and there's
literally
around your feet.
I literally could not hold it together.
Yeah.
He like doesn't, I could see that he was really timid. And you know when somebody's feeling something, if their like eyes are down, you know, whatever. So he steps back and he pauses and he goes, I kind of remember this in vaguely, but he says something like, this is really going to make my daughter's day. And he starts like choking up a little bit. And he was like, I just lost my son to suicide. I was a mess.
Yeah.
Because somebody that has dealt with mental health, I know how that feels like. I know what feeling really low feels like in those moments. And I am not the same person since I met him. I have not talked to him since because I haven't seen him. But I think that is what I want my business to be known for, is to help people that are in need and to recognize when people are in need. So to not ask, do you need help, but just to offer and to say, I know that you are struggling. Not in those words, but here is how I can offer my support to you.
Yeah.
And that does so much for people. And I think I wish I had that when I was going through certain things in life. And everybody goes through these things, which is why I think it's really important to be that person for somebody. Whether you see a stranger on the street or whether it's your friend or your mom or your sibling, like whoever it may be, is offer support. And it could not even be saying something. It could be like just a handshake or a hug or whatever. So when that happened, I was like, I'm making some sort of shift in my business, where I want it to mean more than just selling baked goods. Like this isn't, selling baked goods is amazing and things like that, but what do I actually stand for and what do people need? Yeah. And so also like the last pre-order cookie box drop that I did, I donated 10% of the sales to a business in need to Western North Carolina. I actually just sent her the money today. And I mean, awesome. we only raised like $300 and then I doubled it to make it $600.
Don't say only.
Thank you.
Don't say only, because that's above and beyond what most people will do when they see people in need, you know, so.
I also think that like seeing what our culture and society is going through, just in general, like it's very hard to get by these days, you know, it's not easy, and I feel very blessed to do what I'm doing. And so I helped this grocery store, kind of grocery boutique store in Western North Carolina. My boyfriend was like, how did you find them? I'm like, I don't know, research, Googled things. I really wanted to help a business that literally lost everything. If you go, I'm actually going to post the video on Friday. But if you go to their Instagram, it's Finch something. I'll tag them when I post it, whatever. But the water was literally up to this roof in their business. And
it's terrifying.
I just can't even imagine what somebody feels like. Like if that happened to me, I could probably imagine it with fires here. You know, you get ripped, everything gets ripped underneath you from a fire, devastation. And so that's something that's really important to me in my business, is to give back to people that are suffering and that need assistance, whether it be locally here in Riverside or somewhere in the country. And because I just do believe that we're stronger together, and if we help each other, then it's a more kind and peaceful world.
Ain't that the truth?
You know, and I know that's easy. That's very easy to say, but it's very hard to do in practice, because I know a lot of people are suffering and not everybody has the advantage of helping other people, because especially right now, people are only trying to help themselves, which is totally fine. But what I say to that is go write somebody a note.
Yeah.
Go offer your ears to somebody if somebody needs to vent or talk or talk about their feelings or things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of like what I'm kind of doing now, is working on my cookies. And I launched in September, and then I've had 2 pre-order sessions. People are like, don't just do pre-orders, have it always open. I'm like, yo, I'm a single person doing everything.
Yeah.
I need to know how many I'm
Microbakery,
baking.
guys. I can't just be busting things out.
Yeah. Which is a good thing to have.
Let's get you elves.
But, I mean, honestly, that's kind of so funny that you said that. When is this podcast going up?
Next Wednesday.
Did you get elves?
No. No, but I have something.
He said, did you get elves?
I wish. I mean, maybe my boyfriend could be classified as my shipping elf.
Hey,
but,
there we go.
But I have something really fun planned for Christmas time. So, I mean, I don't even know how many people are going to listen to this on my stuff, and we're kind of I'm talking a lot. So
no,
I'll just tease it here. So I'm planning on shooting really fun promo and turning my microbakery room into the cookie elf Christmas room. So I'm dressing up as an elf.
Heck yeah.
And making the whole room completely Christmas vibes.
Turn into a winter wonderland.
Honestly. So it's so weird that you said that, because signs. I don't know if you guys believe in signs.
I do.
Okay.
I do. There's something so serendipitous when you're thinking of something and then the world kind of puts it in your face as well. And let me tell you, I support it. We love, I don't know if you could tell, but we like decorating for the holidays. And I told him that I wanted to do it Disney style, where we're done with Halloween, we just go straight to Christmas.
I love that. I love that.
That's the way that we should do it for sure.
Yeah.
Disneyland style.
That's so fun. So that's really hilarious that you said that, but I'm really excited for it. I bought my costume already.
Let's go.
And I just need to buy my decorations, because I do cookie flavor of the month. So for November, I have a special flavor that I'm launching. It's pumpkin pie with graham crackers and caramelized white chocolate.
Ooh.
And then December will be a fun flavor too. So I'm kind of I try to do fun marketing things to get people interested again to buy especially for Christmas, for gifts and stuff.
Now, do you experiment with your recipes on your own? You just think okay, I got to do something with pumpkin for this for this month, and then you just make a couple different ones and pick your favorite?
Well, so I try to get my audience involved as much as I can.
Cool.
Because I want them to feel like they have some sort of say.
Yeah.
That's also how you build a community, build an online presence, bring people into wanting more.
Turn
of
it
you.
into an actual community, not so just one-sided.
100%. And if that's any advice I could give to people on social media, starting social media, be yourself and build slowly and bring people into your world. As much as it might be cringy to do some things or talk on your Instagram if nobody's watching yet, just keep doing it, because people this is weird to say, but people get addicted to what you post and they look for what you post next.
I believe it.
Yeah, it's weird, and kind of some days I'm like, ooh, I feel creepy on Instagram. I don't know, you're just not creepy in terms of what I'm posting, but you're what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I posting?
It's do you would you consider it more of an imposter syndrome, or is it an insecurity that you still face?
That's a good question. I don't think it's either of those. I think just knowing that the internet is weird
and could be mean.
Anybody is watching your video.
Yeah.
And also, this is really weird to say, but does it matter? Instagram could go away tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think I struggle with that sometimes too. I try to remind myself this is your business, so you have to show up.
Yeah.
And not most days I'm I want to show up and be there for people and provide content.
Yeah. Which you do great at.
I
by
try.
The way. Your content is great.
Thank you.
It's well shot. You do the voiceovers very well. It's professionally done.
Thank you.
So, because people make content that's so bad.
Oh
sometimes.
yeah. I try to make content that's fun.
Yeah.
Enjoyable to watch. kind of educational, and some videos are more educational than others.
I think it got to part 16, if my memory is serving me right, of your trailer. Yeah, I watched every single one. So. I was having a great time. Well, because I love building. Like, I work in construction. My profession is construction. So first of all, rock on, girl.
Oh, thank you.
Seeing you do that, I'm like, I love seeing a lady be handy, you know, and you're over there painting. You got your personal protective equipment on. I'm proud of you.
I think I was living in that thing for weeks.
It's awesome. And
thank you.
It was coming out so beautifully. And I have right here, I'm like, where are you at with the horse trailer? Are we done? But
that's now so funny you say that.
A little bit of time to.
I have a video going live on Thursday for an update. It's not like a construction video or anything, but people keep asking me, do you have an update? And I'm like, you guys, I'm one person. It was blazing hot here for the summertime.
The trailer had to tan a little bit.
It needed to get a little bit of rest, you know? It's been working really hard in the summer, getting a little, like you said, tan. So I have a video going live on Thursday, just as like an update where I've been with it, etc. My goal is to work on it again soon.
Right.
I also work a part-time job. So like there are some days that I'm just not available to do anything besides that. And also it's not easy running a small business and getting ahead of things, especially I am the sole person that does everything on my back-end website, on my customer service, on baking, prepping, shipping, organizing, like marketing. And as much as people probably don't like to hear this, but social media is a big time marketer. So you have to catch people, meaning you have to tease people. And so I'm like, for the next November drops, I'm launching a new flavor, and I'm like, how can I tease people and bring them along as long as I can, and then I announce it. So it's like it's a lot of planning and organizing that I don't think people realize. Like I have my whole content calendar planned for the next 2 weeks, because it's like,
you guys are twinsies.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Oh, do you?
He has a content calendar. He was just showing me.
Yeah, I just got a new app called Notion that I'm absolutely
Oh my gosh, Notion is amazing.
Yeah, there we go.
I don't personally have it, but I've used it. Do you pay for it?
No.
It's free?
So if you pay for it, you would need, I mean, like it's like AI and stuff that you're paying for. So you can use everything else besides the AI for free. I
think you just reminded me that I need to get Notion. Because I've just been putting like
Notion sponsor us.
Yes, please. Please sponsor them. I've used Notion for a brief period of time with the company that I was working for when I was doing the food stuff.
Cool.
And it was really easy to organize. But yesterday I'm going out of town for a week, and
anywhere fun?
I'm going to Hawaii.
Hey.
Yeah. It's my first proper vacation in a long time.
I don't know how to sing any Hawaiian song. Yeah.
I'm like, give it a try. I'm so excited.
Which island?
Kauai.
Hey, that one's more green.
I've heard.
Yeah, so you're gonna have.
I didn't realize how mountainous it was until I started like planning things.
Oh, I'm excited for you. You're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, I'm really excited. But I was like, I can't. I've kind of not dropped off on posting videos, but the past couple of weeks have been insane, just shipping things. And staying on top of everything. So I haven't really posted a ton, but I really need to like get back into posting every single day. So I full on like, I'm a very visual person. So I like actually drew a calendar out for myself and then like started writing the stuff in there, and then I'll digitalize it. But yeah, I had to, you have to just plan. It's a lot of planning. I don't think people realize. They're just like, oh my gosh, you put so many videos out. I'm like, you have no idea, you know, how many, videos. If I'm shooting something in one day, I might even be shooting 3 things in one day.
Just because you got it set up.
Just because I have it set up that way. And, but it's fun. It's also fun. It's just
knowing the work it takes. I can like, whenever I saw your post, I'm like, dang, this girl puts in work.
Yeah.
Like, you're working hard.
Trying. I think I struggled for a while in a period of time with social media in my bakery stuff from probably like April to June, I would say, where I started really comparing myself to other people. And it was very detrimental to not only my growth, but my mental stability.
Comparison is the depth
thief
of all that,
of all joy. And everybody tells you that, but we're all humans. We all compare our lives.
Can't help it.
But I think that's ultimately the reason why I started sharing the imperfect moments.
Yeah.
I have a video that's gonna go live, I think, on Monday, called Imperfect Moments in My Bakery, where I'm literally not gonna even put audio to it, and it's just gonna be like things that are happening that are bad. You know, exactly. Exactly.
The career.
But it makes it fun for me because I'm like, these are
real
fun moments to share.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want my videos to feel really curated. But I did struggle with that. I don't think I've talked about, that's a video that I should probably post, is like comparing, even though somebody says don't compare yourself to others, we all do it on a certain level. And how do you get out of that? And how do you become more of a voice for yourself?
Yeah.
So I finally found more of my rhythm now. And like, you know, it took me a while to find that rhythm again and not compare your numbers to somebody else's numbers.
Yeah.
That can be very challenging. But also, who cares? Like, just keep doing you.
Yeah.
But again, it's easier said than done when your body feels so many emotions all at the same time.
100%. Because it's like you want to do things because you love it, but then at the same time, what you want a somewhat of a result from what you're doing and loving it, or however you want to take a look at it.
Yeah.
I want to circle back a little bit to what you said about, like, if you want to do something, go out and try it. I do think that message was so beautiful, especially because that's kind of the point of the podcast is how you find your expression, like how you find your purpose in life. And it took me so long. So when you're sharing your story and stuff like that, someone will listen and someone will be inspired and motivated to do not the same mundane thing. Because it's ironic that you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast that, like, you know, it was expected of us to go to school, go to college. And I think we were just talking about this recently.
We were just having a conversation about this,
we're all the same age. I'm only 31.
Oh, you know, okay. So I'll be 31 in January.
Yeah, we graduated 2011. You graduated 12. And it's crazy. Like, I really do feel like it was our generation. It was just, there was always that caveat. Even people that I know that did something different, their parents had that, you know, go to school and we'll help you get your pilot's license. And it's like, wait, why don't you just want them to get their pilot's license? Like, that's a career in and of itself. And so is being an actress. And it's like, is it wrong to say actress?
No, you can say actor, actress, whatever.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. But like that's, you know, in and of itself, it's like, that's something. So to have the caveat of school, that was always kind of like looming over our heads, because I don't use I have a degree. I don't use it even a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm like you. I got out of there. I was in college.
He knew he didn't want it.
And I was like, I'm doing nothing here productive for myself.
Well, that's the thing. And I think with a lot of the resources that we have now, I mean, people joke about it, but YouTube University.
I went to school on YouTube, 100%.
Honestly. And when people joke about it, I try to say, no, this is real. People are teaching you things online. And for somebody, like I said earlier, that doesn't necessarily learn from the traditional textbook professor kind of thing. And, you know, if I were to watch a baking YouTube video, I was telling this to somebody recently. If I read the same YouTube video in a book, I would not be able to do it because that's not how I learn.
Yeah.
But give me a video and let me watch it for 15 minutes. I know exactly what they're talking about. I know exactly how to do it, et cetera, et cetera.
You'll be able to recall things.
Exactly.
Too, yeah.
And I think, you know, our world is just very different now. There's different avenues to, you know, success. I don't like using the word success because I think it puts a monetary value on it.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean by that.
Yeah.
But I use success in terms of like your happiness in life.
I prefer that.
Yeah.
It's what it should mean.
Yeah.
100%. But our world sees it as, how much money do you have?
Well, unfortunately, like, people will have all the money in the world and they're still the most unhappy people that you can meet.
Totally.
So money really does not buy you happiness.
No.
Personal success does.
Yes. And like finding who you are.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with you when it comes to the not traditional routes, but it was very hard when we graduated. It was like, no, this is what you're going to do. And
there was no other route.
There was no other route shown for us. I remember so many people giving me so much crap about not going to school. And
kick rocks.
Yeah, honestly. And I see myself now and see myself who I was before I decided to move out to LA. And I am a vastly different human being. Yes, I know we all change and grow when we get older, but life experience gave me so much depth of character. It allowed me to feel uncomfortable. I always tell people, if you are not uncomfortable in the things you do, you are not in the right field. You are not doing something right. And I don't mean uncomfortable like every day has to be uncomfortable. I mean like...
Yeah, that's torture.
You know, it's like, don't put yourself through that. But you should feel like you're challenged.
Yeah.
And especially starting this business, even now, there are some things that I don't know how to do, and I'm still learning every single day. And the amount of growth that you get from challenging yourself and feeling uncomfortable, there is no price tag that you can put on that.
Yeah. I believe it's in the Bible, with struggle comes perseverance.
Yes.
And that is very true.
It's so true. And so if there's anybody out there watching or listening that is at like a crossroads or feels like you don't know what to do, there is no age limit to making changes in your life. There is no, yes, clap for that.
Yeah.
There is no age in which you have to tell yourself that this is what I have to do. Yeah. The amount of changes that I've made in my life over the course of only 10 years, I could write a whole decade of books of like things. And I think that that's what life is all about. And it's not always going to be easy. It's actually going to be very hard. That's also the other thing that I don't think people talk about a lot is how hard life actually is.
Oh, big time.
My mom and I were talking about this recently, and I was like, the problem is nobody taught you or us, I'm sure you guys agree too, but how to handle your emotions when things are really, really hard. And when I say really, really hard, I know my problems are first world problems, but they are still hard. And nobody really gives you tools and skills in order to be able to field those emotions. It can be down to the simplest thing of your tire goes flat and you're on the middle of the highway and you don't know how to process that. Or it can go down to you're really unhappy at your job and you want to change your career. How do you deal with those feelings? Because it's very emotional and emotionally taxing. But everybody in school only cares about if you get an A, B, or C. And how do we make our education system more accessible for reality?
It needs to be more tangible than what it is, because it really doesn't make any it's not practical.
No. And I just wish that more people would talk about that. Hopefully I can talk about that more like on my platform. But yeah, it's like, how do you emotionally deal with things always happening?
You cry.
Exactly.
That's what I do.
Oh, same. I think my boyfriend jokes now. He's like, the first time you cried, I thought the world was ending. And now I just am like, it's okay.
It's Tuesday.
Honestly. But everybody deals with those things differently. And I think that you can, especially now when mental health is a very big topic, which it should be, you can easily go into a depression if you're not understanding of those feelings or how to handle them. And I don't know how old your parents are, but my parents are not in the generation where you really talk about your feelings. I mean, I grew up in a all woman household, so like we talked about feelings and things like that. But a lot of things I feel like back then, again, I don't want to like generalize people, but
you're not.
I'm willing to generalize a little bit, and it's mostly men too. When it comes to not being able to, tell their feelings and express themselves, it's just we've been suppressed for that. For me, I don't care. Like, I'm very open with my feelings.
Sure.
You're pretty emotional, dude.
I'm a very emotional person. Yes.
That's good though, and that should also be. That also makes you more aware of other people's feelings. And I think when people think about emotions and feelings, they're like, I have to cry, I have to be down. But ultimately, what you're doing is when you tap into your feelings and your emotions, you're basically allowing other people to come in, and you're recognizing that other people have feelings and emotions, which ultimately brings you closer to people.
Yeah.
So
I think it's really important. Yeah.
It's really important to talk about. And I wish that, and I hope that our education system, or parents that are soon to be parents, or maybe want to have a family, see that being emotionally educated, I'm not sure if that's the right term, but
I think so,
skillful at teaching your kids that it's okay to have emotions, but how do you field those emotions?
Well, it's just so crazy to me because, you know, to mention it now, you know, it's if they were to teach mental wellness in school, they need it now more than ever because, I mean, we didn't have social media growing up, and I still struggle with things like, you know, just to make it general insecurities.
Sure, of course.
I can't imagine how much more of those would be amplified if I was facing that from age 12 and up on YouTube, on Instagram, and
it's a lot.
There's kids committing suicide at ages I mean, it's heartbreaking. And a lot of it has to do with the social media outbreak that we're all, you know, because it's all new still. When did Instagram come out? Like 15 years ago now?
Yeah,
I remember
like
when it first came out.
Like not even maybe 12, 11 years ago, something like that.
I think it was like 2011, 2012.
That's relatively new. People didn't know smoking killed you 10 years in. You know what I mean? Like it took a while for them to figure that out.
Yeah.
So
I think it has to do a lot with also parents as well. And parents having, like I know we didn't grow up in the social media age, really.
Yeah.
But my mom always kept me and my sisters really busy. We always had activities. Yeah. But she was always supportive of the things that we wanted to do and encouraged us to try. Yeah. Like my mom, I was a band geek. I was in marching band when I grew up.
What'd you play?
So I didn't play anything. I was in the color guard.
Oh, you flew a flag.
Yes, rifles, sabers, flags. Nice. We actually were really good and won nationals. And
nice.
I was in the U.S. Army All-American Marching Band in 2012. Cool. That was really fun.
Did you get to go anywhere neat to perform?
That one, I was down in San Antonio, and we performed at the Alamo Dome with the U.S. Army All-American football team.
Super sick.
I don't think they do it anymore, which is really sad. But it was like an all-paid trip. I had to audition for it, you know.
Cool.
I marched in the Disney parade in Walt Disney World like twice with my high school. So that was really fun as well. But we were always really busy as kids. Yeah. And I think that's something that's really important. Even if I have a family, like I never want my kids to come home and just want to sit around. Yeah. And I think that's a recipe for disaster. And it all boils down to the parenting. Yep. In my opinion, I'm not a parent yet, so like I don't have...
Doesn't matter, you can have an opinion.
Right, exactly. But I've nannied for a lot of families, and I've seen where there are problems. Yeah. And they don't... I don't want to say force, because you should never like force. But sometimes you force your kids to do something. Like my mom forced me to join marching band, and I never looked back. Like I loved it. Yeah. And those are the moments where you have to be a parent and you're not a friend. Yeah. And so when you see like kids coming home and just going on their computers or their video games, and then social media, that's when you start to compare yourself to people. That's when people start bullying you. Like I had a conversation with a friend on Instagram the other day, a very like short conversation about sharing your kids on social media. And I was like, I'm never sharing my kids on social media. And she had shared a post of her son and the creepy comments that she got from that video. What? And the saves, like, why would you save a video, you know, like a kid in a video? So there's just like the bizarre things that happen online that you have to be really, really careful. Even me, like I'm posting myself online. Like that is a scary place to be posting. You don't know what people are doing with these videos. They can download it. They can screen record it. Yeah. They can do anything. So anyway, I just think it's down to the parenting and how you keep your kids active. Yeah. And you are I know a lot of people aren't fortunate to have their parents, you know, stay at home with them or like, you know, our world is busy.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard. It's hard to raise a family now. But I think it's down to like, keeping your kids busy. Also busy with you. Like go and take them out on adventures. Even it's like going to the park or like going hiking, be a family and make it adventurous.
You like being outdoors. I see you run.
I do. Yes.
Yeah. Health and wellness. I'm a big fan of that.
Me too.
Yeah. I love health and wellness.
I ran a lot in LA. I used to live by this canyon.
Scary? Were you not in a scary spot?
No, I was in Studio City. So it's very like kind of, I guess people would call it rich, I guess. But
yeah.
I mean,
it's nicer for sure.
Definitely nicer. But there's this canyon there that I would run every single day. And then I started lifting because we have like a small gym in our garage. Nice. And I'm trying to get back into running a little bit.
It's hard.
It's not as easy as it was before, but I am a big advocate of taking care of yourself, not only physically, emotionally, and mentally.
I love that. I'm a big fan of all of that.
Thank you.
I really appreciate what you stand for.
Oh, thank you. I try my best to just help people. I think that's my goal.
It's one thing to vocalize it, but it's another thing to genuinely walk the path. And it feels as though you really do, because you mentioned transparency. I'm pretty sure, you know, I don't want to say I was researching you, but I was on your Instagram, I was on your website, and I stumbled across a few videos that were emotional. And I'm, you know, to use the podcast as an example, I remember when we first started posting, I was so nervous. I'm like, dude, we don't need to put any episodes out. Like, forget it. Let's scratch it, whatever. And there's a level of strength that comes with sharing those moments in our lives. And like you mentioned Jack, that was his name, right? And you're telling me a story. I was tearing up over here in the corner because a random act of kindness like that doesn't occur to people as often as it should. You know, I'm a firm advocate of like, if like, let's say I'm listening to music and Bob Dylan comes on, I'll be like, man, I love this song. I'm going to text the person that introduced me to Bob Dylan because I appreciate the influence they've had on me 20 years later. And even little things like that, like knowing people are thinking of you, like it feels good.
You have no idea what somebody may be going through, and a simple gesture can change the trajectory of their life.
Yep.
Actual life. It could help somebody come off a cliff.
Yeah. And that's why I think I'm like, if you're a person and you're living life, and like, if you think of a friend randomly, why not text that person, ask them how they're doing? Cause that can go, like you're saying, that can go so much farther than a, hey, how are you typically does. Because I don't know, cause life.
I'm the same way. I think I try to remind myself of that even more recently. I would say I have a handful of close friends that I really care about and that have been with me throughout my whole journey. And
are these friends from Buffalo?
Mostly LA.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
nice.
Mostly LA.
You were so young when you moved over here, girl.
Yeah, I kind of don't talk to anybody. I have one good friend from Buffalo still, but I don't talk to anybody that I graduated with.
That's not unnatural.
Yeah, you know. It's one of those things where you just kind of move on.
Yeah.
You know, you don't, and it's okay. It's also, some people are not meant to be in your life forever.
Yes.
I think you also have to realize that as well. Some people are in your life to teach you things. And more so than not, unfortunately, as sometimes those situations are really sad and really emotional. But yeah, so I have a small community of friends, and I'm always like trying to check in and remind myself, even if I don't talk on the phone, just like, hey, I'm thinking about you. How are you doing? I'm really sorry that I haven't talked to you in a while. I care about you. I hope you're doing okay. Let me know if you need anything. I kind of have that vibe with my Instagram a little bit with the people that message me, because I know everybody's going through something and I know people are reaching out for a reason. Whether
you're
it's
delightful, so
I try to be, I guess. Thank you.
You succeed.
But I just try to be like, even if they're just reaching out for like some sort of help with their sourdough, you know, they're reaching out for a purpose.
Well, you're teaching people how to make sourdough in your videos too.
And I care to give those people time. Because they've expressed that they're feeling down about it.
So I think it's even hard to send a DM sometimes.
Honestly,
like, they were brave enough to DM you. Like,
I'm like, this
That's
isn't
sweet of you to reward that bravery.
I try my best. It's hard to I'm not going to lie. It's hard to keep up on messages.
Yeah, I bet.
And also because I really care to take my time.
You want to have a thoughtful response, not just like a generic.
Yeah. Just not like liking the message and moving on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
send a cat emoji. Like,
yeah. Like, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how we got into this conversation.
Which one? We're tangenting all over.
This tangent of, but small gestures make a really big difference to somebody.
Jack, we're talking about Jack.
Jack, yeah. They make a big difference.
They do. Fidelia, will you let people know where to find you?
Oh, yes. You can find me on Instagram at Daily Grace Bread and Bakery, or you can find me on my website, I guess, at www.dailygracebakery.com. I have a pre-order session coming up for my cookie box drop for November from October 28th to I think it's November 1st. And all the cookies will be shipped out on November 4th. I think I mentioned it earlier, but there'll be a special flavor that I'm dropping. And yeah, I always say reach out to my emails if you ever need any help with anything. My email's on my website, and you can just find me on Instagram. I'm usually on Instagram more. I'm trying to get better with TikTok, but I hate TikTok.
Why?
I mean, I like TikTok like for scrolling and entertainment, which I need to really wheel myself in. But I have also really connected with a lot of amazing people on TikTok that I haven't really connected with on Instagram, meaning TikTok isn't deleting videos if they don't want them to be shown for whatever reason. Meaning like I have gotten like real updates what's happening with Hurricane Helene and like things like that. So I feel like I've connected. Yeah, they don't censor as much. But TikTok, I'm not used to the interface, the user experience on TikTok. So it's a little harder and challenging for me to like post a video, but I just need to get in the rhythm of like posting on Instagram, then you post it on TikTok, then you post it on YouTube. I would like to get into more long form content too on YouTube if I have the time and can, but yeah, that's where you can find me.
Cool.
I think.
Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having. Sorry, I was like so talkative. So
why? Again, you made it so easy because I highlighted 99% of my sheet. The only thing that I didn't but we already talked about it because you opened up your shop in 2024. What encouraged you to take the plunge? And you told me about that anyway. That's the only thing I didn't highlight. So you touched all the bases, girl.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me and taking the time. I really appreciate it. I love talking about this stuff, and
I think I want to have you on again in the future, but maybe like for more of a like out of the box episode, not something. I would
love that.
Just something more, I guess, thoughtful.
Yeah.
Because I really do appreciate your perspective on life and wellness, and I'm not gonna lie, I struggle with depression regularly.
Yeah. Same.
I know Connor's heard me talk about it, and it's something that it's not enough people typically would know. People who know me think that that's not possible, but I'm like, you don't know me, you know?
It's a spectrum of a lot of emotions, and everybody goes through it very differently. So I don't think people would realize I have struggled that way in terms of conversations I have or whatever. I mean, I'm open about it on my online platform, but I would love to talk more about, I like talking about life.
Same.
A lot, if you can't tell.
Same. And you're local, so we'll make it happen.
Yeah, 10 minutes down the road.
Heck yeah, girl.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Everybody follow on Instagram, like, share, subscribe, and we will see you next time.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.